Full disclosure, I've never actually owned an Apple Watch before, despite the fact that many of my friends have. But recently, a couple of them started asking me what watch they should be buying because they knew I worked for Time+Tide. Which got me curious as to why they'd want a mechanical watch if they already have an Apple Watch. But as it turns out, to display the time, you need to do a big flick of your wrist, which in an important business meeting isn't a particularly cool thing to do, even if you've got another appointment afterwards. So when I got the opportunity to review the new Apple Watch Series 5, I thought, that sounds fantastic. I want to know more about what it is, what it does, and after spending a couple of weeks with it, these are my top 5 takeaways. Displays. On the new Apple Watch Series 5, it has an always-on display, which is totally different to any of the previous generations of Apple Watch. This is made possible with some pretty significant updates in the battery technology and the efficiency of the watch, but it also means that my friends who are looking for other watches will no longer need to. The new Apple Watch will do the trick. What's particularly cool about this for watch collectors though, is that the display is almost infinitely customizable. We've got everything from this pretty cool California dial, which I've chosen. There are some blocky space age numerals as well, and if you want more information, then you can track your activity, you can track the weather, or just about anything else you might imagine. All made possible thanks to the battery. Now to the battery. You might expect with the always-on display that the battery life would be reduced, but with the Apple Watch Series 5, they've actually managed to extend it, which is a pretty impressive bit of technology. What might be a bit of a deal breaker for some watch collectors though, is that it's still very much a computer more than a mechanical watch. Its lifespan will be measured in years, not in generations. The fact that you have to put it on its charging port every night might be a good thing for you or it might be a bad thing. But it is a reminder, and a very tactile reminder, that this is a very different sort of device that you strap to your wrist every day. While this choice is very individual, it is something that you should think about before you buy one. But regardless of where you sit on the idea of a luxury watch compared to an IT device, they're still very much using the same playbook when it comes to materials and the kind of hardware that they use. I have in my hands here a ceramic version, which isn't new. It existed before the Series 5. But what is new with the Series 5 is that they've produced a titanium version. In the titanium version, the sides, as you can see, are fairly well finished and wouldn't be out of place on a Swiss product in a diving watch potentially. Beyond that, it's slightly more stealthy, which I quite like, and definitely doesn't yell from the rooftops about itself. What really sealed the deal for me with the titanium version was just how light and comfortable it is on the wrist. You definitely wouldn't hesitate using it if you're doing a sporting event, which I actually happen to do. And especially on this kind of nylon sports strap, it's very, very comfortable. When it comes to straps with the Apple Watch Series 5, the stock option is a silicone number. All of the straps are very easy to change and just require the press of a thumbnail to slide them out, which is actually an example of technology that we're starting to see in the Swiss watch industry as well, with brands like Cartier and Vacheron following Apple's lead in making it easier to customize and adjust the bracelets of their watches. The fitness functionality of the Apple Watch Series 5 is really where it came into its own. I wore one during the Melbourne Marathon, and without being in close proximity to the iPhone, it was fantastic for tracking heart rate, GPS, pace, splits, everything you might need if you're exercising for a long period of time. But even if you're not running a marathon with it, it's still a great everyday tool to keep you healthy and happy. It tracks your resting heart rate while you're sleeping. It can track your sleeping patterns to wake you up at the most optimized time. And it also has an activity app, which basically tracks your level of activity during the day. So it counts the amount of time that you're standing, it counts your exercise time, and it also counts your walking time. All of which you can compare to previous days, you can compare to your friends or family, and kind of makes it a bit fun, a bit kind of enjoyable to see how active you've actually been that day. All things considered, the Apple Watch Series 5 is a compelling argument for a smartwatch. If you've owned Apple Watches before, you'll really appreciate the little bits and pieces of detail that they've changed and altered to improve the user experience. And if you've never owned one before, like I hadn't, it basically gives you everything you might want in a smartwatch. The always-on functionality is great, the battery lasts all day, and in terms of the fitness tracking, it's really, really good. And now we get to the price. For the Apple Watch Series 5 in ceramic, it starts at an Australian RRP of $1,990. For an example in titanium, the starting price is $1,259 Australian dollars. If you like this video, hit subscribe to Time+Tide.